Today our topic is why you should read Marcus Aurelius today. Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor, but he is best known today for his book Meditations. This book is not just a historical text, it is a guide to living a good life. Even though it was written almost 2,000 years ago, its lessons are still very relevant. In a world full of distractions, stress, and constant change, the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius can help us find peace, clarity, and purpose. Let me explain why you should read his work and how it can improve your life. First, Marcus Aurelius teaches us about the importance of controlling our emotions. He believed that we cannot control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we react. This is a powerful idea because it reminds us that we have power over our own minds. For example, if someone says something rude to you, you cannot control their words, but you can control whether you get angry or not. This is not easy, of course, but with practice, it becomes easier to stay calm and focused. This is especially important in today's world, where social media and the news often make us feel angry or upset. By reading Marcus Aurelius, you can learn to step back and think before you react. Another key lesson from Marcus Aurelius is the idea of focusing on what truly matters. He often reminded himself that life is short, and that we should not waste time on things that are not important. In modern life, we are often distracted by small things like checking our phones too often or worrying about what others think of us. Marcus Aurelius would tell us to focus on our own goals and values instead. He believed that the most important thing is to live a virtuous life, which means being honest, kind, and fair. This is a timeless lesson because it reminds us to think about what really matters in the long run. Marcus Aurelius also teaches us about the importance of accepting things we cannot change. He believed that everything happens for a reason, even if we do not understand it. This does not mean we should never try to improve our lives, but it does mean we should not fight against things that are beyond our control. For example, if it rains on the day of your picnic, you can either be upset or accept it and find another way to enjoy the day. This attitude of acceptance can help us deal with many challenges in life, from small disappointments to big losses. It is a reminder that we cannot always get what we want, but we can choose how we respond to what happens. One of the most inspiring things about Marcus Aurelius is that he practiced what he preached. He was not just a philosopher, he was also a leader who faced many challenges during his time as emperor. He dealt with wars, political problems, and personal losses, but he always tried to stay calm and make wise decisions. This shows us that his ideas are not just theories, they are practical tools that can help us in real life. By reading his work, we can learn how to handle our own challenges with grace and strength. Another reason to read Marcus Aurelius is that he reminds us of our own mortality. He often wrote about the fact that life is short, and that we should not take it for granted. This might sound depressing, but it is actually a very motivating idea. When we remember that our time is limited, we are more likely to focus on what truly matters. For example, instead of wasting time on arguments or petty worries, we can spend our time on meaningful relationships and activities. This is a powerful reminder in a world where we often get caught up in small problems and forget to appreciate the bigger picture. Marcus Aurelius also teaches us about the importance of self-discipline. He believed that we should always strive to improve ourselves, not for fame or money, but because it is the right thing to do. This is a very important lesson in today's world, where we are often tempted to take the easy way out. For example, it is easier to eat junk food than to cook a healthy meal, or to watch TV than to read a book. But Marcus Aurelius would tell us to choose the harder path, because it is the one that leads to growth and self-respect. By practicing self-discipline, we can become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Another important lesson from Marcus Aurelius is the idea of seeing the bigger picture. He often reminded himself that the world is much bigger than his own problems. This is a very helpful perspective, especially when we are feeling stressed or overwhelmed. For example, if you are stuck in traffic, You can either get frustrated or remember that this is just a small moment in your life. By zooming out and seeing the bigger picture, we can reduce our stress and feel more at peace. This is especially important in today's fast-paced world, where we often feel like everything is urgent. Marcus Aurelius reminds us to slow down and see things in perspective. One of the most beautiful things about Marcus Aurelius' writing is that it is very personal. He wrote meditations as a kind of diary, not for publication. This means that his words are honest and heartfelt. He was not trying to impress anyone or prove a point. He was simply trying to understand life and become a better person. This makes his work very relatable, even today. When we read his words, we feel like we are having a conversation with a wise friend who understands our struggles and wants to help us. Finally, Marcus Aurelius teaches us about the importance of gratitude. He often reminded himself to be thankful for what he had, even when things were difficult. This is a very important lesson because it helps us focus on the positive instead of the negative. For example, instead of complaining about your job, you can be grateful that you have one. Instead of focusing on what you lack, you can appreciate what you have. This attitude of gratitude can make a big difference in how we feel about our lives. It helps us find joy and contentment even in hard times. In conclusion, Marcus Aurelius' Meditations is a book that can change your life. It teaches us how to control our emotions, focus on what matters, accept what we cannot change, and practice self-discipline. It reminds us that life is short, and that we should make the most of it. It also encourages us to see the bigger picture, be grateful, and strive to be better people. These lessons are just as relevant today as they were 2,000 years ago. In a world that often feels chaotic and overwhelming, the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius can help us find peace, clarity, and purpose. So, if you are looking for a book that will inspire you and guide you, I highly recommend reading Meditations. It is not just a book. It is a timeless guide to living a good life.